Hello, Stay Sharp community. Wanted to make this quick video because one of the questions that I've been getting a lot lately is about how to price your services. And this question has come in by a couple of people, and I've just been exploring what they have been wanting to kind of get down to. And so this video is going to be a little bit generalized, but hopefully it helps you start thinking in the right direction. And firstly, I want to shout out Simon Kelly, who made a great video this week on how to share your iPad screen using QuickTime and on Zoom. And by being able to do that and knowing this tip, I'm very glad to say that I can share my iPad and make a Loom video at the same time. So I'm super excited about that, just to geek out a little bit. But back onto pricing, there's a couple of schools of thoughts with this. When it comes to fixed pricing, that can be a little bit dangerous, especially if you're in a service model. Now, like something like a hairdresser or something like that, where it's done a lot and you kind of know your fixed costs, it's okay. But let's take a model, say like a mechanic. Sometimes they can diagnose what the issue may need to be, but until they start pulling things apart, it's very dynamic about what could be the potential problem, and what could be the potential problem, and where things could unlead. So as they start exploring, more and more happen. Now, if you're someone who's in, say, the web design industry, which a lot of the questions that have come in have been in that area, and you're working on a client's website and you don't know exactly, especially if you're revamping. So let's go down this model of like you specify in, say, Shopify, fixing people's websites or increasing sales and results. The one thing you need using Spotify, which is a really good niche, at least you know who your customer is. But just think about someone who is buying Spotify. The reason why they're going to Spotify is because they're a fixed cost. They know that they can have a website for X amount of dollars per month. So their mindset is already on this fixed price. I pay X, you do Y. And so we just need to keep in mind with that. So there needs to be a little bit of mindset changing for this to happen. And so every person who has a problem has basically two kind of steps. They are here, and we'll draw them as a little stick figure. And this is their current state. So current state. And then over here is what we call their desired state. So that's where they want to go. Now, there might be several ways to get there, and this is kind of where you come into play, because they have their current state. This is, maybe their website's not working, and their desired state is that their website is working. But we need to ask more questions to know what success looks like. Now, once we drill down into that, it may not just be fixing the website. It may need a marketing strategy. It may need, a customer journey. And so their desired state will be a list of kind of requests or features or benefits. And I guess that's where the power is, because now you can put a plan together that solves this list. But from a customer point of view, they are here and and they don't know what this crazy ride looks like. That's why they're engaging you as the expert. And so your duty is really to identify what we call the gap. And so this is the gap from what their current state is to what their desired state needs to be. And this is the solution. And so it doesn't really necessarily mean what you are doing and how you are fixing their website or the way that you do it. Like, let's use the mechanic analogy again. If you go back and they say, oh yeah, we fixed the problem, and they say, it took this amount of time and this is the price. Or they might ring you and say, hey, we found the problem. It's going to cost $3,000 to fix it. And then you have a choice. Do I not have a working car, or do I pay the $3,000 to get it fixed? And so once they diagnose the problem, they tell you what it's going to cost. You don't sit there saying, well, what exactly are you doing? What are you changing? Which bolt are you undoing? Which part of it? How long does it take in? How many people will be working on it? What will the car sound better when it's finished? So when it comes to the web industry, we really need to take people through that mindset that you're here to solve a problem, and you've done it before, and that's the expertise that we're doing. When it comes to the pricing, we really need to explore what the current state is costing them by this gap being present. And so it is really part of your duty as the consultant or the expert to really identify how much this problem is hurting or affecting the business. And that will really define your involvement in solving the problem. Now, it's not about so much about making up prices, but if you have fixed fees and you say, I can solve this problem and it's $3,000, then all of a sudden you lift up the hood of their website and you realize there's a lot of skeletons in the closet, you're going to do yourself injustice and the customer, because you're now going to try and fix that problem within the budget, which may not actually fix this gap. So you may then decide, well, I don't have budget to do this, so I'm only going to fix this much of the gap because that's what $3,000 looks like. The other additional $2,000 will now be deemed out of scope and kind of a surprise to the customer that normally creates a really bad experience. So when I'm working with clients, I really want to know what their current state is and where their desired state needs to go, what success looks like. And one of the questions I really like to ask is, if we need to get you to this desired state, what does success look like? And they go, well, it's all these things. And we go, awesome. Well, these are all things I can definitely help you with or point you in the right direction or bring the team together to make happen. But what is it costing you by not having this gap solved? And that's the real kind of the question. And so if the customer says, oh, well, this, it's only costing me $100 a week by having this broken website, then it may be right at that point to say, well, it's not really a big urgent problem. It's not something that really needs to be fixed. Like, we can live with that. It's not a big bucket with a hole in it that is causing a lot of pain and stress. But if they say that this problem's costing them $120,000 a year, so now all of a sudden that this gap is worth $120,000. Now, do you think that maybe pricing your services at $3,000 is actually going to fix a $120,000 problem? Probably not. So then all of a sudden, this is kind of an idea of, oh, okay, well, this is a massive problem. There's probably a lot of moving parts and a lot of opportunity that can be taken here. And doing the right strategy and putting this list of things together and now knowing the type of problem you're solving, all of a sudden, this scope of work could be about $12,000. And that's about 10% of the problem and what it's currently costing them. And any customer would probably pay even maybe up to $24K and say, well, if for 20% of what the problem is costing me, you can fix it, that's a good return on investment. And so you ask these type of questions really to drill deeper and to get a better understanding of what type of problem you're actually starting. You as the consultant don't know how much that problem is costing. And it would be injustice to kind of really assume that and think that because you've solved this problem for another customer that might have solved a $20,000 problem, now all of a sudden, that's a bigger problem, and success is going to be more rewarding. So it's just a school of thought. I just wanted to share that with you, and hopefully that helps get you kind of thinking in a different way when it comes to solving the problems. Fixed pricing is very dangerous. It's going to cause you to only take shortcuts, and I've seen it happen so many times. And trying to increase the scope of work down the track is a very hard conversation to have, and normally leads to disaster. So understand your customer, know that they're coming from a space of fixed pricing, and you need to take them through a journey to understand that while this is what fixed pricing looks like, I don't operate like that. And if you're after fixed pricing, that's not a problem, but it's not something I do. It's not like an order list where you add things to a cart, hit submit, and now you engage my service. Now, going into a framework of actually being able to do this well, there is a lot of resources out there in regards to running discovery sessions or running a mini workshop, and you can actually get paid to dig deeper into the customer's problem. So you are then actually getting paid to give a pitch, and you will stand out in amongst the audience and the crowd if you say to someone, I want to run a discovery session where we can do a whiteboard and really get to the root cause of the problem and the solution we have at hand. And then all of a sudden you're tailoring your solution that is so specific that maybe other people haven't delivered to that level. So you're really going to stand out when it comes to someone that they want to work with, because you're actually being paid to put the plan together, and a lot of people will pay to get this right, especially if it's a large problem. If it's a small problem you're solving, then you may need to take a different strategy. But you can normally find this information by running a Zoom strategy session or a meeting for 30 minutes. And then that would lead to a paid strategy session or workshop, which nowadays can be done on Zoom with virtual whiteboards like this. So hopefully that helps get you understanding a little bit more when it comes to pricing and how to take your customer from their current state to their desired state. And that gap in the middle, the leap of faith, is where the opportunity lies. And if you have proven or methods or frameworks that can help create that stepping stone to those, that's awesome. And then, when it comes to the pricing, if they say, 24K, like that's not within our budget, we kind of thought more around the 12K, you say no problems. Well, look, that's to get this kind of problem solved. But let's just say we remove, let's remove this feature and this feature. So now 12K looks like this. And so they're getting half the amount of things solved for the same price. And then you might decide to turn this into phase 1, 12K, and phase 2, bad handwriting, 12K. And you let the customer pick what they want to remove from the project in order to reduce the schedule, the pricing schedule. Awesome. Hopefully that's helpful. And if you've got any questions, feel free to just reach out and let me know. I'm happy to clarify.